Hey everybody, this is Sean, and, this week I think I'm going to do another recipe. I was sitting here having my breakfast, or at least a little bit of a snack before I make a real breakfast. A cup of coffee and just a couple saltine crackers, mostly because I'm addicted to crackers. And I was thinking, can I make saltines? So, today I'm going to take us through a recipe for some simple saltine crackers and try to answer that question myself. This recipe is a simple one, so we're not going to need too many ingredients today. It'll be a cup of flour. We're going to need a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder. I don't have the butter out here because it's still in my fridge, but we'll need 2 tablespoons of that. Cut it into pieces. You also need 1/3 of a cup of cold water, and some coarse salt or some fancy salt flakes to top them at the end. Because, it's not a saltine unless you got that salted top. I don't care what they say. And I'm also going to make this in my food processor. I've only got one of the small 4-cup ones, so we're going to find out if this is big enough to make this recipe today. If it's not, then I might end up finishing it by hand. So we will find out. Before you get started with the next step, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees and lining a baking sheet with some parchment paper, because that's where you're going to cook your crackers. It's nice to get that out of the way before everything else is started, so you don't have to worry about it at the end. I've lost track of the amount of times that I started making bread and got most of the way through the process and then had nowhere to put it. So that's a pain, especially when you got pans of things rising all over the place and you're making something fancy. Okay, grabbed a tiny tripod to help me out. Mind the coffee in the back. It's still morning here and I haven't had enough yet. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get out your little food processor. Got my cup of flour. Get that all in there. I've kept the flour out because you're going to need to do some kneading by hand later, and it's always good to flour the surface when you do that. This is where we've got all of our other dry ingredients. I've got the teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of sugar, the teaspoon of baking powder, all in there. Get that in as well. Close it up. Give it a chance to mix everything. And then it should let you open. There we go. And put in the butter. So we've got all of our butter and our dry ingredients inside our food processor now. So it's time to give it a go. Okay. Pulse it a bunch of times. Open up our lid. And it's kind of mixed up a bit. Feels a bit mealy. It's chopped up the butter for us. That's what we're looking for at this point. So, I'm going to pour in 1/3 of a cup of cold water. And then we're going to pulse it and mix it until this forms a dough. It's not going to be like a soft elastic dough like you usually look for in the stand mixer. You just want this to form a shaggy dough because you have to finish the rest by hand. Try to get you a good view there. There we go. We've got a dough. A dough is formed. So, clear off your workspace. Get some flour down because you're going to need to knead. Get out of here, coffee maker. Get your dough out of here. And then you want to knead this until it's smooth and elastic, which really shouldn't take you long. because the gluten has been beaten up by your food processor already. Use a little bit more flour if you need to. Okay, once you've kneaded your dough long enough that it's become smooth and elastic, which you can usually tell mostly by feel, or by just taking a peek at it, then you're done for now. You're going to want this to rest for about 15 minutes. Sometimes it's nice to have it chilled when you do that. I need to check my recipe. It does not say to leave it chilled, so I'm just going to leave this on the counter. And then after that, we'll meet you back here, and we'll have to roll this out. So I'm just going to find a nice bowl for this. Cover that up with a cloth, and then let it hang out. And I'll see you in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. I've lightly floured my workstation, got myself a rolling pin. I've also made sure that I've got a pizza cutter and a fork, and those will come into play in a little bit. So now that your dough is rested, you want to roll it out. Make sure that you lightly flour your rolling pin as well, because you don't want any of this sticking to it. You want to get this rolled fairly thin, about 1/8 of an inch, which is around 3 millimeters for you other Canadians out there. I think it's technically like 3.1 or something. If you have a pasta roller, you can use that for this part as well. But I've decided not to use my pasta roller today, because so many of the people that watch my videos don't have specialized equipment. And you can hear from that our oven is now ready. Again, that was 375 degrees. We're almost ready with our dough as well. Get that nice and thin. The thinner you get it, then the crunchier your crackers will be. If you want to have a flakier cracker, then feel free to make sure that you chill this dough while it's resting, and then don't roll it quite as thin. If you really wanted to, you could fold it and roll it and chill it over and over again during that first phase and get a very flaky cracker. But at that point, you're just making pastry dough. Okay. I've got this rolled fairly thin, enough that in that last pass it tried to break on me. So now I'm just going to decide how big I want my crackers. And cut ourselves some relatively even lines. And then trim the end a little. We can use any uneven ones. Anything else, mix it back together and roll it to form more crackers. Let's take some of these little oddball ones from the edges. Because I just want some perfect crackers today. These guys will re-roll as well, but I might do that off camera. You can do that, I believe, once or twice. Now, you take your fork, and get your cracker holes. This keeps saltines from puffing up too much. And gives you those traditional holes that you see on all of the saltine crackers that you buy. I'm doing them in different patterns, just because I feel like it. And I'm kind of curious. Do they look different if I do different hole patterns? And I'll be back with you when I've done rolling up my scraps and poking holes in all my crackers. The next step after this is to transfer them to your baking sheet, so that's where you'll see me next. Okay, our oven is heated up, and I've got all the crackers rolled out. The little trimmy guys I put back together and made into more crackers, and we've poked holes in all of them. So the next step is just get a little bit of water on a brush and just moisten the tops of them. Not every recipe tells you to do this, but I find moistening things really does help the salt stick a lot better. And if we're going to be salting these, I don't want all the salt to fall off right away, especially the ones that I put my fancy smoked salt on. So about half of these, we're going to use the coarse salt that I've got over here. And the other half, we're going to use, I've got some Malden smoked salt flakes, because I think that would be a nice twist to crackers. You can also add like dry herbs inside the crackers and anything else like that that you want. There we go. Get our salt. Sprinkle a little bit. Don't really care if I miss the pan or miss the crackers and get some on the pan. That's fine. We can deal with that later. Salt's cheap. Maybe do more with this than I'm going to do with the other stuff, just because the other stuff's more expensive. There we go. We've got our salted tops on those ones. And then got my fancy little sea salt. Get it all on there. So some of these will be regular saltines, and other ones will be smoky saltines. Okay, now that we have all of our saltines salted and the oven ready to go, it's time to pop them in there. So the temperature of the oven that you're putting these into, again, is 375 degrees. And you want to keep them in there for about 12 to 14 minutes, just until they start to turn brown. If you like a crispier cracker, you can leave it in there a little bit longer. But because they're so thin, I worry about them burning. So I'm going to pop mine in, and I'll see you guys after these are done. Okay, we've got our crackers done. It took longer in the oven than I thought it should, but that's probably because I brushed them with water, and also because they're thicker than I think I should have made them.
They're monsters.
Yeah, these have turned into monsters. So I'm going to get these out. Put them onto my little drying rack. Ooh, one of them stuck. There you go. Let me give you a closer look at these. So they've got the shape, but a lot of them are a lot thicker than your average saltine. I'm going to give these a chance to cool, and then we're going to give them a try and compare them with some actual saltines and see what we think. And here we go. Our saltines have cooled down, and I've got them out on a plate for us to test. I've got 2 Premium Plus saltines on the plate here. Alexis, can you tell which ones are the actual Premium Plus crackers and which ones I've made myself?
No, they look identical. Actually, they're pretty close.
They are, but obviously these
Are the
top are the
saltines?
yeah, those are the Premium Plus saltines. These are the ones I made using the smoked sea salt. These are the ones I made using just a coarse salt. So I'd like you to try one of them and just let me know how it compares to.
Smells like a cracker.
It's a lot puffier than a cracker.
Still slightly warm. It does have a crunch.
Buttery flavor to it, though. Reminds me of a biscuit.
Yeah. More like a biscuit.
I think I've made flat biscuits.
They're kind of tasty flat biscuits. Now we just need some soup.
I think if I made these again, I would use lard. Try to get more of a neutral flavor. And maybe they wouldn't puff up quite as much.
They're still very good, though.
They are. And then we also have the ones that we've made using the smoked sea salt. So I need one of those to try.
These ones?
Yeah.
Smells like a cracker.
That smoky flavor.
I like the smoke.
That makes a good cracker. I like that we can make kind of different crackers than the ones that we buy in the store. We can try around with some different flavors. Maybe I'll add some herbs to the next batch I do.
Ooh, that'd be good. I wonder if it's possible to make like those wheat thins.
Ooh, maybe. I think I'd have to roll it out. I'd use the pasta roller for that one, make it way thinner and try to get them crispy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway.
Stop wheat thins.
These are delicious.
So I guess the answer is I can make saltines. They're probably not quite as cheaply and as good as the ones that you buy in a store, but they're still delicious, and I'd like to make these for alongside soup anytime.
I think they're more delicious.
Ooh. Well then, maybe I just need to make some soup so that we can eat the crackers I've already made. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this recipe video, take a look through my videos. I've got a whole bunch more for you. There's a bunch of other topics that you can take a look at too. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.